Welcome back to Capital Catch-Up. I'm Victor.
And I'm Lainey. We have a significant slate of legislation to unpack today, ranging from a major shift in Middle Eastern policy to critical infrastructure protection here at home, alongside a heated procedural showdown in the House Oversight Committee.
Let's dive right into that showdown. The House Rules Committee has set the stage for a floor vote that carries immense historical weight. We are looking at reports recommending the House find both William J. Clinton and Hillary R. Clinton in contempt of Congress.
It's a stunning development. This stems from subpoenas issued by the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. For our listeners, a contempt of Congress citation is essentially the legislative branch asserting its investigatory power. If the House approves these resolutions, it refers the matter to the U.S. Attorney for potential prosecution. It's a procedural nuclear option that we haven't seen deployed against former executive branch officials of this stature in quite some time.
It certainly raises the temperature in Washington, but while the headlines will focus on that, the legislative machinery is moving billions of dollars elsewhere. We saw Senate amendments to House Resolution 7148, the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2026. This is the engine that keeps the government running, and attached to it is House Joint Resolution 142, which disapproves of a D.C. Council Tax Act.
That D.C. disapproval resolution is interesting, Victor. It's Congress exercising its unique authority over the district's local laws, something that always sparks a debate about home rule versus federal oversight. But speaking of federal oversight, I want to pivot to national defense because we're seeing a very specific focus on the human side of the military this session.
Absolutely. You're looking at House Resolution 7009, the Home Affordability for Guard and Reserve Act. We talk a lot about hardware, but housing affordability is a retention crisis. This bill specifically targets those who serve part-time but are often priced out of the communities they protect.
And that pairs with Senate Bill 3619, the Department of Defense Comprehensive Cyber Workforce Strategy Act of 2026. The Pentagon is realizing that buying the best software doesn't matter if you can't hire the people to run it. This bill forces a long-term strategy to recruit talent that usually goes to Silicon Valley.
We also have House Resolution 7323, the Defense Technology Hubs Act of 2026. This seems to be an effort to decentralize defense innovation, moving it out of the Beltway and into regional hubs. It's an economic play as much as a security one. And we shouldn't overlook House Resolution 7211, authorizing the Medal of Honor for John W. Ripley for his actions in Vietnam. For history buffs, Ripley is legendary for blowing up the Dong Ha Bridge in 1972. This bill waives the statutory time limits for the award.
Moving from history to future threats, I was struck by House Resolution 261, the Undersea Cable Protection Act of 2025, which is moving through committee.
This is critical. 99% of international data traffic goes through these cables.
Exactly. If those cables are cut, the global economy goes dark. This bill, alongside House Resolution 3617, the Securing America's Critical Mineral Supply Act, and House Resolution 4090, the Critical Mineral Dominance Act, highlights a pivot towards supply chain sovereignty. Congress is trying to lock down the physical infrastructure of the 21st century.
It's not just external threats, it's internal management too. We have House Resolution 7076 requiring reports on small business contracts within the DoD, and House Resolution 6976, the Duty Status Reform Act, which simplifies the confusing administrative categories for reservists.
Let's shift gears to the environment and land management. Senate Bill 1787, the Dolores River National Conservation Area Act, is a major conservation effort.
This protects a massive stretch of river in Colorado. It's the classic Western usage debate, balancing water rights, which are gold in the West, with preservation. We're also seeing House Resolution 3654, the MOLD Act. While the acronym is catchy, the implication is serious, likely addressing habitability standards in federally assisted housing.
The Senate is also moving Senate Bill 3637, the ACE Agriculture Act of 2026. With the Farm Bill cycles getting more contentious, these standalone measures are vital for modernizing ag tech. And in the committee rooms, there was a fascinating legislative hearing on House Resolution 3276 regarding bird habitat stewardship and House Resolution 7159, the Protecting Local Zoos Act.
It sounds niche, Lainey, but the Protecting Local Zoos Act often touches on accreditation and funding that smaller communities rely on for tourism and education. Speaking of education, Senate Resolution 601 designates National Tribal Colleges and Universities Week. These institutions are often underfunded, so federal recognition helps drive grant eligibility.
On the topic of education and workforce, the Committee on Education in the Workforce held a markup on House Resolution 70V2, the Flex Act for charter schools, and a rather unique one, House Resolution 4624, the Muhammad Ali American Boxing Revival Act.
That one catches the eye. It's actually about protecting fighters from exploitative contracts, expanding federal oversight into combat sports. It builds on previous efforts to treat athletes as labor with rights rather than just commodities.
I want to circle back to a massive geopolitical development. The Committee on Foreign Affairs held a hearing titled Syria at a Crossroads, U.S. Policy Challenges Post-Assad.
That post-Assad phrasing is the key. It implies the U.S. is now legislating for a reality where the Assad regime is no longer the central power broker. That requires a complete overhaul of sanctions, aid, and military posture in the Levant. It's a high-stakes hearing.
While they look abroad, the Senate has been busy confirming the judiciary. We've seen nominations for Daniel E. Burrows to be Assistant Attorney General and a slate of U.S. attorneys, including Thomas G. Govan Jr. for Alabama, Zachary Keller for Louisiana, and Ryan Reibold for Texas.
And judges, too. Brian Charles Lee for Western Tennessee and Justin R. Olson for Southern Indiana. This is the quiet work of the Senate that reshapes the legal landscape for decades. These are lifetime appointments.
Before we wrap up, we should mention the Veterans Affairs Committee. They tackled a heavy docket, including the Warriors to Workforce Act, House Resolution 982, and hearings on veteran suicide prevention. There is also a discussion draft for the Veteran Housing Promise Act.
It ties back to what we said earlier about the Guard and Reserve Housing Bill. There is a concerted, bipartisan push to address the cost of living crisis specifically for service members.
And finally, a quick nod to Senate Bill 3678, the Voluntary Limited Accreditation for Adoption Services Act. This attempts to streamline international adoption processes, which have been bogged down in bureaucracy for years.
And Senate Bill 3630, renaming a post office in Sterling, Virginia for firefighter Trevor Brown. A local honor, but one that gets read into the permanent record.
So what should listeners watch for in the coming days?
Keep your eyes on the House floor for that contempt vote against the Clintons. Regardless of the outcome, the debate will be fierce.
And watch the movement on House Resolution 2189, the Law Enforcement Innovate to De-Escalate Act. As it moves out of committee, we'll see if it attracts bipartisan support as a solution to policing reform.
We'll be tracking the congressional record. Volumes 172, numbers 23 through 27 drop this week for any last-minute inclusions. Thanks for listening to Capital Catch-Up.
We'll see you next time.